Matan. I'm nearly 30. Um, Married, baby boy coming up next month, first one. So we're a little bit, tensed but excited at the same time. So my story, I guess, begins when I was 7 years old. I was introduced to the computer in general by my dad. He's bought a computer to home. These were these boxes back then with the cubicle screen, right? And so he introduced me to that, and he gave me to play. I think my first game was, I think it was Prince of Persia. It was like pixelized. Um, and yeah, so that's where it all started. And pretty quickly, when I was, I think, 9, a good friend of mine has bought a strategy game. It was called Age of Empires. And I was drawn into that immediately. Mostly not because of the gaming side, but mostly because apparently I was enthusiastic about medieval knights and history and war and all of these things that little boys like, swords and bows and arrows. And so I was drawn into that pretty quickly. I would spend hours on end at his house. We would play together. There was no online then, so only single player. And that was like my first intense game where I played a lot. After that came in Game Boys, those little consoles. Today it's Nintendo DS, I think. The world of Pokemon and all those animes came in. And we're talking about early 2000s. And so Game Boy was, I guess, my second sort of gaming piece. I played a lot of hours on the Game Boy with my cousins. Every time we were gathering at my grandmother's house every couple of weeks, and we would just sit there for the entire day, 3 of us, me and my 2 cousins, playing the Game Boy, playing Pokemon. Fast forward, after a few more strategy games related to history and computer, let's say that up until 18, I was pretty balanced in my life. I mean, gaming was a major part of it, but it wasn't all of it. I loved everything about it. I learned so much. And so I learned a lot, and especially since the online world we got exposed to at 2009, I think, is where I actually started meeting real people online and making real or not real friendships, both actually. So I learned a lot of English, and I'm very thankful. I think without gaming, I wouldn't be at the level of English that I'm in today. I mean, you'd see in Israel, the English level is pretty not very good. They don't really teach that well at schools. And so I credit a lot for gaming. I've also learned geography because of those history games, a little bit about, how to manage money and resources, and a lot of things that are, the old school style of teaching at school is pretty boring and it's very hard to pick up on, and gaming really provided a fun platform, and it's just like a side effect of it. You don't go there to learn geography, you just learn because it's part of the gameplay. And so I think gaming has gave me quite a lot. I was involved in forums, in communities. I've even worked with developers of some games, testing their beta versions of the game. And I even started my own community, and we were running tournaments in-house. And so I think there was a lot of entrepreneurial spirit involved with gaming, but it was a fun and good way. And I actually met a few real life people that we've been great friends. We're not in touch. So yeah, it's been like until 18, I treat gaming as super positive, balanced. I had other hobbies outside. I was playing tennis. I had a good grades at school. I was in different programs outside of school. I had real friends outside of the gaming world. And so overall, I think it's been pretty balanced and great. I like to call it the phase where gaming was a passion of mine. After 18, around 18, I left my old house where I grew up. And so I wasn't really able to meet my, my good friends anymore. And I had to give up tennis, and I enrolled into university, and it was pretty tough. And so I didn't have a lot of time at first to do all that's around. So gaming became a top priority after studying. So I was studying, gaming, and then everything else, which I didn't have time to do. So then at the time, I think it was also thanks or not thanks to technology that the gaming companies have understood what types of games they need to to create to make it more addictive and more profitable for them. And so there was this game called Dota 2. I don't know if you've heard that name. Similar to League of Legends. I know League of Legends is a lot more popular. It's similar style. It's still pretty big today. I think there's around 12 million active players, and they have quite large tournaments. It's owned by Valve, the company that owns Steam, the gaming platform. And the prize pools are around $40 million in the worldwide tournaments. And so it's a very competitive 5-on-5 team player style game where you get to pick a hero out of 200 hero pool, and there's so much to it. You can learn different characters, different spells, skills, and because it's like a team game, there's community in there, and you get a global rank in the world based on your skill and your win rate. And you get a lot of cool skins and items to show off inside those games, and you can actually start to brag about cool moves that you're making, right? That people can appreciate. So that becomes your main focus of life besides studying. My studying started to suffer. I just couldn't concentrate. I would do the minimal that I had to just pass. I passed everything, luckily. But I would whenever I would sit down to complete my homework or prepare for an exam or whatever, it was very hard for me to concentrate, because I would okay, when do I go back to the game? When do I go back to the game? My schedule was wake up, have a cup of coffee. I allow myself one game and usually those games are like one round. It can be an hour to an hour and a half. It's super long. One game, and then I'll study for, let's say, a block of 2 or 3 hours, and then I'll let myself another game, another block of 2-3 hours, and then the rest of the evening I would just play. Even though I still wanted to do another block of studying, I just couldn't resist. Another element that's been very influential is, even when you're trying to be off the game, you have your friends pinging you, hey, let's play. And because you guys are not always synced in calendars, whenever there's an opportunity to jump and play together, then you take on that opportunity and you just go in there. And that's, I think, for all of the people out there, I think that's a main key factor that holds so many people from being able to maintain staying off gaming. It's that element that your friends are calling you, hey, let's play together. During 18 to 25, let's say, I completed university, but the game was just too much. I think if you compare 18 to 25 gaming hours, and you compare that to 7 to 18, so 11 years versus 7 years, I played almost, I would say, 4 to 5 times longer over those 7 years compared to the 11 years. On that specific game, Dota 2, I've accumulated over 8,000 hours or something like that. Only on that one game, right? You look at my older games that were history, you might have 600 hours, 400 hours, but this one, 8,000. It's horrible. Because it never ends, right? It's always still in the trend. It's always still popular. Those games, there's a new release with a new version. So you move from one game to another and you grow tired of it, and things are just moving on. But this thing is like social media, it doesn't go away. Right? So you just want to improve and get to world number one. There's shiny object syndrome. You're seeing how much people are players are making. And even if you're not a pro player that makes money, then people who are streaming, Twitch TV, it was called the Justin TV before acquired by Amazon. Twitch TV, super popular gaming streaming platform. YouTube, so many people are entertaining. They're streaming games. Pro players are streaming. It's getting a lot of viewers and attention, and you can make a lot of money even if you're not a pro player. So yeah, so those, I guess, if we're starting to discuss what elements are making it super hard to quit or very getting drawn into this world. So one we discussed was the friends, right, inside the games. Second element would be the entire atmosphere, ecosystem that's around the game. You can not only, if you're tired, you don't have to play, you can be in bed and watch some competitive game or watch a stream. And it's very lucrative that you might be able to get some fame and some money if you try hard enough. Now, this is where self-awareness comes in. I realized at a certain stage that I will probably not be a pro player, and I am not an entertainer. So I guess both options to make money on that front are pretty much non-realistic. So that's helped a lot in realizing, okay, there's no point anymore to do that. So yeah, I finished university, grades were but during those years playing Dota 2, I've developed early signs of anxiety. I had a vertigo a couple times, and the doctor said it was due to stress. I started losing my hair a little bit, and I was super young, right? And I guess early signs of depression. Nobody diagnosed me, but I was actually, nothing else was fun for me to do. I didn't feel like doing anything else. I literally told my doctor nothing else excites me anymore. I don't want to do anything. My friends would tell me, hey, let's go to dinner to this place. I'm like, either I went and I just couldn't wait to go back home, even if it was like 12 a.m. Yeah, I had fun, I guess. But when I went back home, I'm like, I can't go to sleep. I gotta relax and have a couple rounds just to chill out, chill down, and then go to sleep. It's like getting your dose before bed, right? So even if I didn't want to go, I just made up excuses and I didn't go. Even with my girlfriend, I would tell her, she would leave 30 minutes driving away from me. I would tell her, hey, I got a homework, I can't right now, let's meet up in a couple of days or whatever. We would literally only meet up like once a week, even though we were pretty close. And I didn't really sit down and study all day. It was mostly gaming, right? And all of these bad things started to happen. And then I enrolled in Israel. You got to go to the army, to the military. There's mandatory conscription. And so I was on this program that after finishing my degree, you go into officers training. So that was like the first long period of my life where I was off gaming by force, not because I chose to. I was in base for 6 months in my training. That was, I guess, my first cleanse off gaming. I read a lot of books. I actually started running 10 kilometers. I lost a lot of weight, and things was like my hair was magically growing back up. I don't even know how. And a lot of positive things started to happen. When I finished officers training, I was stationed in the headquarters in Tel Aviv, which is the central city in Israel. So it was a day job, basically, in the office. And so I would wake up super early, go back home super late at like 6, 7 p.m. I would come back home. I would just game all night just to escape, because I didn't like what I was doing. It wasn't challenging. I didn't like the work culture. I didn't like the superior officers. And so I was really like not enjoying and suffering from it. And gaming was started creeping back up into my life, right? I just wanted to just let me go back home, play my games, be with my friends. I would play until, gosh, like, I don't know, 2 a.m. even, and then wake up at 6 a.m. super tired and bummed. You don't even have motivation to try and do anything else but game, because that's the least amount of effort that's required. Sit down on this comfy chair, have a few clicks, and you're somewhere else. um, so that went on for like 3 years. Mental torture. I started having the symptoms again as before. um, and I've reached a point, I guess a key moment was when I sat in the train one day, because I was commuting to work by train. So I sat in the train. It was late. It was, I guess, 8 p.m. or something. I had to leave work late. And I was sitting near these two grown up women. I think they were like 40 years old, let's say. And they were sitting on the bench next to me on the train. They're talking to each other. And, it's dark outside. Everybody's tired coming home from work on the train. And like the vibe is very like down and tired, and you fall asleep. Anyway, so these two women, they're talking, and one says to the other, wow, at least it's in 2 more days, it's the weekend or something like that. Or in 2 more days, we have a holiday. That's like the good news. I think that's when it hit me, like, I gotta make a change. Like, I don't want to live like that for the rest of my life in a job that I'm miserable in. I wake up super early, I'm super tired, I come back home super late. My life is just horrible, and I was, I guess, 20, I don't remember, 3 or something like that. So like, how many years do I still have to go through this? I was like, it scared the hell out of me. So I think that was the first key turning moment for me. From there on, I started going into building a side hustle, which was e-commerce for me. So I would come back home from the military, and I would sit until 12, 1 at night, trying to learn everything I could about online business, how to build a store, what platforms to use, about finances, everything I could. That was like a journey of 5 years. And I'm happy to say that eventually, after a few attempts and a few failed stores and a lot of money that's spent on courses and mentorships and fake people who are just trying to sell you things that don't work, or many make money fast schemes, eventually it worked, and I've built Ancient Treasures. That was my store, which I sold a couple of years ago. Was a 7-figure business, and that led me eventually, when my contract with the military finished, I didn't have to work for anyone else. I had the freedom, I had the financial means to do everything I wanted to do. And hold on, that's the bad news, right? Then COVID hits as well. So I'm sitting there, I don't have to put a lot of effort into the business. We are all in lockdown. And guess who comes up again? Gaming. Like so many of the people in COVID that I'm teaching or helping with, most of them say during COVID was like a turning point for the worst. So gaming started creeping in. Dota 2 once again. This time I didn't have all my friends from last time, so I was just doing it alone. And whatever you remember from last time, same story. And now I had a new girlfriend, which is now she's my wife. And we relocated to Cyprus during around the same time. So she started baking some cakes for the Israeli community in here, and she wanted to help a lot of the time. And I would just sit in the computer and I wouldn't help her at all. I would sit on the computer all day, playing games, trying to make it. I bought a lot of all these fancy desk and a gaming machine, computer and microphone. And I said, let's try to make it in streaming again. Let's try and make some money from gaming again. And so I got drawn into that all over again. And I think after around a year, the key moment for me was that, my wife, and I think it's in your subconscious, it builds up. You don't really notice it, but it builds up, that it's starting to disturb you. You don't really pay attention to that, but something builds up. And then there's a key moment that is a trigger, where then you cross a certain mental threshold, and it's different for every individual, where that trigger moment just gets you to say, that's it, I can't do it anymore. I gotta stop. It could be with weight loss, right? So for me, it was, for example, I wore this in my uniform, I had a belt, and the belt would just be too tight, and it will disturb me for so long, until one day it's just, okay, it's too much, like I gotta stop. And then you actually take action. So that similar trigger moment in relation to gaming was that my wife wanted to spend the evening with me and watch a movie in the living room. So I told her, hey, I'm just finishing up a game, I'll be right with you. And 3 or 4 hours later, I come into the living room, to the couch to watch the movie. She's already asleep, and that's it's like, even you can't see it on her face, you feel shameful, like, well, what the hell am I doing? Like, why am I doing this to her, to myself? Like, I can't control this, like I'm just sucked in, and it just drains every moment. She would stay up sometimes baking for the Israeli community until like 4 a.m. because there was a lot of orders. And instead of helping her out, I would sit here and not go to bed and just play until we both went to bed, until she finished. Luckily, I was always interested in self-development and my business journey, and through the military training that I've received, I feel like I've had enough resources to battle this once and for all. And so I immediately uninstalled everything, cut it all out, and I never touched gaming again since then. That was like 1.5 years ago. I do not intend to go back to gaming. I can say that cravings have not been there so much. You do think about it sometimes, like with everything that you were addicted to. I guess it's like a lifetime sort of thing, where you're like, oh, maybe it's like you're examining it in your mind. You're trying to imagine how it looks like to play, and then you're sort of examining, does it feel fun or not fun, imagining yourself doing it. And I can confidently say that 99% of the time it doesn't feel like it would be fun. So since then, having gone through all of that, I've realized a couple of things. That number one, money doesn't necessarily equal happiness, because even when I had the money and the means, it's not like I did something special with my life. I didn't move into a fancy house. I didn't have any fancy car. I didn't feel ecstatic. Like, there's no, a lot of the people that are trying to make money, they just do it because they think they will win something, that there's an end goal to life, that if you reach a certain number, it's like game over, you won, and like you're going to live in euphoria for the rest of your life. And I just realized that it's not like that. And I started looking for more meaningful line of work, right? That will both provide for me and my family, but also I will feel that I'm actually contributing to society or helping people, getting positive feedback. And so I decided that the online business is something that was less attractive to me to help people with. The more spiritual, from the heart sort of niche, I'd say, that I chose to work with is video game addiction. And so since then, I decided that it's my mission to help. Ideally, over the course of how long I will be able to help thousands of people who are struggling with gaming addiction, who cannot control it, that it's damaging their relationships, their family relationships, their lives, the grades, careers, finances, and everything else. And I hope that I can condense everything that I've experienced and learned through my life, whether it's business, self-development, being through gaming addiction, and all of those aspects, and helping people not only quit gaming, but also explore what's beyond gaming. So that hence the name Life Beyond Gaming. I know there's a lot of people that are trying to help with gaming addiction, but it's what I've realized, it's not about how to quit gaming, because that easy, just uninstall. It's about, okay, now what? I've uninstalled, now what? How do I fill my time? How do I recover the time that I've lost over years of playing? And all my peers the same age of as me, they already own a house, they have children, they have relationships, they have social life. I lost so many people tell me I've lost so many years, there's no chance I can catch up with life. And they always compare themselves to other people who are not gaming, and it's just, demotivates them. And that's why a lot of people choose, well, I lost in life anyway, might as well win in gaming. Right? Having helped dozens of people, it's honestly, like, it's fulfilling. I'm grateful for that. And like, I couldn't be happier that I can see how it affects people's lives. And I think regret is a lot more poisonous than the sacrifices that you have to take today. And we don't realize that at such a young age. We just don't realize it. And so as part of my program, a lot of the things that we help people do is relink their mind, rewire their mind to link between gaming and pain rather than gaming equals pleasure. Right? It's super important. I think that's the core fundamental thing that someone needs to go through in order to have it a lot easier on them to understand that gaming is not a good thing, at least in their situation. I've got nothing against gaming as a whole. It's not like cigarettes that the moment you smoke it, it damages your lungs. Again, I think gaming, and I told you until 18, I think gaming has been fantastic, great, lots of great memories, learned a lot, it was fun. I don't think I would trade that time for necessarily anything else as a kid. But, gaming's for a lot of people, it's super small percent, right? I think I read a statistic somewhere, it's around 3% of the people who are gamers are suffering from gaming addiction. I mean, it's a pretty small percentage, but it's around 60 million people. If you look at, there's around 3 billion gamers. So 60 million people out there, they need to understand, they need to go through that process because that they just don't realize the price that their behavior and their characteristic is leaning into this type of behavior that will later on, they will just regret it. And so I think, a lot of people are asking as well, like, how should I quit? Should I quit via, as they call it, cold turkey, which means just delete everything, make everything disappear? Or should I just try to play gaming more controlled or more balanced and try to decrease it a little bit? And usually, I mean, my philosophy, again, it depends. We need to understand what it is that gets you addicted. There's different elements in gaming that gets you addicted, and every person is more connected with different aspects of the game that gets them addicted. For example, some of them is for escapism, some of them is for the nostalgia. They're trying to replicate good memories from when they were children. Some do it because that's the only place where they get recognition for their skills or their hard efforts. I mean, it depends. You need to understand, first of all, what it is that you're attached to inside the game. And then it's about understanding what's your personality overall. And usually I know about myself and about most of the people that I've helped, we like to get obsessed with things that we put our focus and attention into. And I think that's helped me a lot in business. But when you put that into gaming, it becomes a bad thing. To succeed in business and to be an entrepreneur, you gotta spend tremendous amount of hours and effort and focus, and you gotta think about it all day, every day. It's the same thing, more or less. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, entrepreneurship and building a business has a lot of sacrifices on its own, but it's something that you can stop when you choose to eventually, or you go from a venture to another. It's not always the same business or the same thing, and it actually yields results that help your surroundings. So most of the people who have this obsessive character, I would say, like I do, I usually tell them, you gotta quit cold turkey. You gotta make everything disappear. There's no other option, because then, as long as there's some exposure, it will just sit in here and you will want to go back to it. I think a lot, especially a lot of people, they tell me they went to therapists and counseling and all that stuff. But therapists, mostly nowadays, it's still not developed or researched too much and not recognized, where most therapists, 98% of them, they will just say, I don't see any problem with you playing video games. I think it's great. As long as your kid doesn't smoke, drink, or eat glass. That's a sentence my grandmother used to say. As long as you don't smoke, drink, or drink oil, or eat glass, that's the phrase, then I don't mind. But yeah, I mean, so it's very hard because there's no official accepted outlet for that as a solution, right? And all these systems, they learn what you like to watch. YouTube, my entire feed was all gaming, and now it's all self-development. So with time, it gets easier to not get exposed. So they don't pop you notifications about players, tournaments, whatever, right? You start to change your social system, your social media system, and what you get exposed to slowly. So yeah, that's
getting busy. All right. Well, I can't think of anything else. That was very helpful for me, and I think this will be a really good video to put out. Like I say, I do get some youth engagement and some parents kind of wanting to understand more about it too when they don't understand it. So
sure.
I think that'll be great.
Yeah, fantastic.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all that you do, and keep doing good stuff.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you taking the time to interview me. And yeah, if anybody will have any questions, we can answer those together. And if anyone needs help, I'm here.
You can learn more about gaming and gambling through resources such as Change the Game Ohio. Here you'll discover tips on how you can find a healthy balance as you play. The Zeph Center Prevention YouTube channel also has video resources available to address mental health as well as gaming and gambling.